いないみたいですね。
鍵を貸してもらえますか。
間宮さん、なんか事件に関わってるんですか？
それを調べるために中見たいんです。
ああ、なるほど。じゃあ、あとよろしく。
In Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, when Takabe locates Mamiya's house, he discovers several books lying around, including those by Carl Gustav Jung. When reading the film, it seems to me that most people focus more on Mesmer, just because Takabe and Sakuma take that up to understand Mamiya later. But it is Jung that to me bears a deeper resemblance to the world that Kurosawa has built. Jung was a psychoanalyst known for constructing an independent map of the human mind based on dream analysis and religious mythology, while his contemporary Freud formed a more scientific center of psychoanalysis. Carl had a sharply different path, especially towards the latter stages of his career. Instead of treading the conventional path of psychotherapy, Jung got fascinated by the rabbit hole of the occult, an investigation that ultimately led him down an obsessive path into man's darkest symbols and rituals, seemingly perishing with his demise. In some sad ways, to me this reflects Takabe's own pursuits, who is consistently warned by the conventional psychiatrist not to pursue Mamiya, a path that leads him into the greatest darkness within. While everybody ponders over the meaning of Mamiya's shoulder burns, a Jungian interpretation gives us a clear connection towards the archetype of the wounded healer, a being who gets hurt by a dangerous encounter with death and as a result uses the deep spiritual experience to heal others. Of course, the only key difference to the use of the term here is that the idea of healing is now ironic. Mamiya plays the ultimate act of deception by appearing like a miracle healer who understands people beyond what language conveys, possibly because he himself is not stuck in names or social statuses.
この人はどうです？
知らない。
これはあなたですよ。
He's like a monkey without identity.
似てる。
これで一つ確かなことが分かりました。それはあなたです。いいですね。
知らない男だ。
In these ways, he's a polar opposite of Takabe. He identifies strictly with the burden of the shadow the Japanese people carry within themselves. So where Sakuma's psychoanalysis of the perps fails, Mamiya's silent hypnosis seems to have a strong influence in the murders. In the first case, where Mamiya appears to be an amnesiac with no sense of identity, he is taken by a stranger, Toru, to his house, who asks him questions about who he is. Deflecting these questions, Mamiya plays out a seemingly random set of acts, involving dropping oranges to the ground, turning the light off, and redirecting questions about his identity back to the other person, finally flashing his lighter to hypnotize him. In the second case, Mamiya is taken into custody by two inspectors, one of whom he is able to trick by simply flashing this lighter again and convincing the man into killing his peer. In the next case, Mamiya adopts a different technique altogether with the doctor, of showing water falling instead of fire rising from a lighter. But when the groundwork is laid, when Mamiya makes her confess her dark feelings about men, the hypnotic suggestion successfully kicks in. The word confession is key here, because it seems to me that Mamiya often takes the place of not only the psychiatrist but also the priest, who makes himself willing to hear these people talk about their dark feelings, something that a shrink or a priest is clearly unable to tap into. And if I try to interpret a pattern in these cases, because the police officer more consciously hated his peer, Mamiya didn't have to work too hard to hypnotize him. Even the detective's flashing cues seem to have an effect on his vulnerable mind. On the other hand, Toru Hanaoka bore a much deeper resentment towards his wife, probably deeper than his own understanding of himself, and so it took much longer for Mamiya to trap him. What Sakuma claims could be the result of the genius of the hypnotist seems to be dependent rather on the vulnerability of the mind of the victim himself. So when it is revealed that Detective Takabe is also getting visions of his wife dying, we can interpret his rage as a fight against Mamiya's methods. And whether he succeeds or not turns out to be the real climax of this film. In the final part of this series, I can now explain my own theory around who Takabe and Mamiya really are and what their actions imply to the ending of this film.